Sure. As always, I appreciate you guys joining us. This quick look back to UConn, but was really pleased with how we attacked what we called our liftoff of our 2024 season. I thought we played mostly clean football in all three phases: offensively, defensively, special teams, and got a lot of live reps. And to me, and to be able to get that accomplished, where we were able to play a lot of players. Get some good things happen in all three phases while still being able to take and make corrections when you have a chance to win is always a good thing. When you look at last week and then leading into this week, obviously, when you start thinking big picture about our team, it starts with, we've been laying this foundation for this year's team from the time we got here. It's the start of new Maryland football legacy, to try to find a way to create a new football legacy for Maryland. And like I said, it didn't start in last week's game. It's a continuation of what we've tried to do over the last 5 years here as a program. And each game this season is another step towards us being able to do that. We have Michigan State coming in. Obviously, a early conference game, so we had the start of both seasons in week 1 and week 2. The start of our regular season, but then the start of our conference season in week 2. And this is where, in Indy, I talked about starting the breaking up of the status quo. And if you think of this week's opponent, Michigan State, they're a team in this league that's been one of the top 5 teams, through the years. And for us to, historically, they've been a ranked opponent. I know 2 years ago, they were the talk of college football and what they were able to get accomplished. And so for us, this gives us another opportunity with a conference game this early at home to continue to work on doing just what we talked about, which is breaking up status quo in the Big Ten. You do it with leadership. The leadership comes from our players. This has been a very player-led team, and we talked about it at the start of the season of how I've seen the ownership taken. When you talk about Michigan State coming in, Coach Smith is new to the league. This will be their first opportunity to travel together under the new leadership that John Smith brings in. He's got a familiar coordinator in Rossi, the D coordinator, we've went against his defenses at Minnesota over the years, really tough defenses, and he's from that Greg Schiano tree. Offensively, the Oregon State system and a really physical system where they want to run the football, take the play action shots. And a week ago they had a tough season opener that they found a way to win. And then if you look at the way this team is made up, they've got 61 new players, and we've kind of been there before where you're implementing new players, new philosophies, new systems. And I would expect, like we think, making that jump from week 1 to week 2, I would expect to see a jump on their side. Their defense looked really good last week. The 2 big stops at the end of the game to finish the game shows that they've got some guys over there. What's our mindset heading into this week? For us, it's one of the earliest weeks we've had a Big Ten opener. Like I told our team, the expectation for us is what we saw last Saturday is what we saw all camp long. We saw Roman Hemby run the ball the way he did in training camp in the game. We saw Nolan Ray, who we've talked about around here, the big plays he made in the spring and the ones he made in the fall. We saw those things, but we also saw the flip side of it where we had some miscues. It's funny, and we had a miscue on a play that what happened in the game, the same miscue happened. And so one of the things going into this week that we want to focus on is what you see is what you get. And the week of practice that we've got to have to go have success this week, we need to see it. We need to put the work in this week. And like I said, I do expect us to have a big jump from week 1 to week 2. Before I close up, I got Dustin said something about CQ. So I don't know if you saw my Emmy Award-winning commercials, with the manicure. So hopefully you guys go get yourself a CQ Terps script or M Block card here. It's a great card. I'm going to read my lines here. It's a great card. It has a ton of perks, especially for Terp fans like you guys. Discounts on the concessions and Terp gear. And I love wearing my Terp gear. And the built-in rewards and benefits and community partners. So CQ, again, has been a great partner. And I say this in jest, but I really do mean it. It's been great to work with CQ, especially in this age of NIL and financial responsibility, our players, and the relationship that we've created through the partnership, I think will be very beneficial. Game captains this week, Glendon Miller, Rex Fleming, and Ty Felton will lead us in our conference opener against Michigan State. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Mike, what are some qualities you've observed about Billy that make him a leader? And kind of a follow-up to that would be, how would his personality, would you say, or the way he carries himself is similar or different than that of Leah?
What are the characteristics of Billy's game? I think that it goes back, what you see is what you get. I mean, who Billy is when you meet him is who he is as a player. Very rarely do you see him get excitable. I think he has emotion, and he's one of those guys that, he's on both sides of the aisle per se. Like, you'll see him hanging out with the running backs, and then he'll be with the big old linemen. And he kind of gets along with everybody. And to me, when you think of a quarterback, it's a person that elevates the level of his teammates. And I always say he has to have the mind of a coach and the skill of a player. And those are characteristics that Billy showed early. It's a little-known secret, man. Billy was like Leah's brother's keeper. If I needed Leah to get somewhere on time, Billy, as his backup, was the guy. And they had a really strong relationship. I know Leah texted me immediately after the game that Billy had a week ago and was super excited for Billy. So very similar characteristics. I think Leah left, like I said, that the work ethic that it takes to play quarterback in this system, that foundation he left for a guy like Billy and the rest of the guys in our program. So, but Billy has some natural leadership abilities, and he doesn't get, excitable. He kind of stays even keel, which you like to see out of a quarterback.
Mike, you mentioned that this is the earliest you guys have entered conference play since you got here. What are some of the challenges in playing a league game this early in the season, especially against a team with a lot of changes Michigan State has had in the offseason?
I don't necessarily think there's challenges other than, we've got to get going right now. There's no easing in the conference play, and we know the value and what conference wins mean, because when you start running your mouth about competing for championships, it starts with being able to win in conference. And, week 2, traditionally, we've kind of built into our conference play, and it's here now. Now, we played, obviously, that shortened season in 2020 where we played immediately, I think, Minnesota pretty early. But for this one, I think it's important for our players to understand, like, there's 2 seasons in every season. You got your regular season, but then once conference play starts, these things become really valuable, really important. And I think for us, as we try to build momentum, it's important to get off to a fast start in conference play.
Follow up on the offensive line. You've had a chance to let the tape, the dust is settled from this past Saturday. What impressed you the most about how they came together, and what are you looking moving forward?
I thought for the first time 5 guys that hadn't played together in a game, if you're a football aficionado and you understand like what UConn did up front, movement everywhere. I mean, some things like really tough stunts up front. The communication and the way those guys were able to kind of fight through it, because there were some 50-50 runs where they hit us for -yard runs, but then we hit them for a 50-yard run. I thought the inexperience of the O-line, I was really pleased to see how they handled all of the stuff they faced in the game against UConn, and it'll only make us better because it builds the toolbox for those guys.
Hey, Coach. Building off over here. Building off Dave's first question, playing a conference game this early in the season, was that something that you kind of wanted to give yourself and the team a challenge? And is it something that moving forward you're maybe more open to? Because, again, as you mentioned, it was really just the pandemic season that this has really been the case for you.
I don't know if you know, I don't get to make the schedule. So where the conference puts games, and, I can help pick opponents of the non-conference schedules, but the conference kind of sets that schedule for us. I know every team has to deal with it. I mean, we've had some early conference games throughout. I know the time I've been back here as the head coach. So do I like it? I mean, I'd prefer to build into it, but, I've never been one to cry about opponents, when we play, where we play. I just like to play.
Mike, I have a 2-part question. One, do you have an update on MJ? And 2, do you plan on rotating quarterbacks as liberally as you did against UConn?
Update on MJ. He was out yesterday. I hadn't had a chance to decide or find out where he is today just yet. But we'll keep you up to date as we always do with very little information. The rotating quarterback. So as I've always stated, I mean, we have a plan in how we want to play the players in each game, how the game plays out, or going into the game, we come up with that philosophy. I think we're still trying to put the game plan together for Michigan State, but I can tell you anytime we have the opportunity to develop a second quarterback in our program, we're going to try to do it. If there's some strengths that he brings to the table from a skill set standpoint, we'll utilize them, because we want to utilize all the weapons in our offense. And we've got 3 quarterbacks that I said we feel we can win with.
Hey, Coach.
Sam, what's up?
Wanted to extend my condolences. I know today is a day for you, so just wanted to start
Appreciate
off by
that, Sam. Thank you.
And then question for you. I know a couple weeks ago you said Glenn was a guy that you want to see kind of come together, and you're always like just hoping he'll put it all together. And then this year, it looks like he finally has. In your coaching career, what have you noticed? Why have guys maybe not been able to get it earlier than others? And what's generally kind of the moment that changes that?
Man, let's go ahead and tell Coach Locks, the parent, what makes a guy grow up, man. It's like the voila moment. Like, whew. Sometimes it just clicks and they get it. But I would say I started seeing Glenn's maturity a year ago. I didn't just see it this year. I actually, to the point where, we had a jersey number open, and usually they're texting me to, hey, Coach, can I switch? I actually called Glenn and said, yeah, I got a gift for you, since I'm always calling you to my office because you aren't doing things that make me happy. Come see me. And so he thought he was coming to see me to get in trouble again. And I actually said, hey, do you want to wear number 1? And he was kind of hesitant. And I said, no, you earned it. You do things the right way. He's a guy that has a positive impact on his teammates. And we've seen that maturity out of Glenn. And what makes it, I like to say, you know what, our program does. We take guys like Glenn, and they come in as 18-year-old boys, and hopefully they leave as 22-year-old men, because of the time they spend around the guys that Glenn has spent time around, from John Hoke to Brian Stewart to Zach Spavital to, Wes, all these guys that have had a chance to come coach and be a part of developing young men. And to me, that's what this program's all about. When we talk about family, and our coaches have really taken on that responsibility of becoming that mechanism to help them take that next step.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Ahmed?
Hey, Coach. I know you talked about, obviously, the offensive line, what they were able to do week 1. They have another test in week 2. Michigan State, I know they were able to get 7 sacks. What kind of jumped out to you about what Michigan State did defensively?
Yeah, they're 2 DNs, big-time players, obviously. I had a chance to recruit Chris Bogle a little bit at my previous place, and really good player, transferred in there from Florida. 27, their linebacker. I mean, every time I look at the depth chart, I'm like, this guy's still here. It's like he's been there for 10 years. And but he's one of those guys that's always around the football. They play good team defense. Their D coordinator is a guy that is well respected in this league. I know he's had Minnesota in the top 10 in defense over the years. And, I know Jonathan went to go get him. He was a guy that he kind of said, hey, I want to go get a guy that understands the Big Ten. And I think they've got a pretty good understanding of what they want to get accomplished, but it starts with their front 7, and the physicality will create a different kind of challenge for us this week.
Hey, Coach.
Heather.
How you doing?
What's up? You get your CQ card?
Every time they score 50 points, we get $50 extra on there, right?
Man. I get him a manicure.
Yeah. So we saw this week, I think everybody here saw the story with Josiah McLaurin and what went on. Just what can you tell us, I guess, about these last 2 weeks for that young man, for this team, rallying around him, and then being able to see him score that touchdown, and all the tragedy that had surrounded him, and just take us through what that was like?
It's been tough, man. Being a Terp football player, we've had a tough summer. We lost, obviously, Isaiah Hayes, who we honored. We lost JoJo Walker, a kid I recruited out of Dallas, Texas, this summer. Kenny Goins through a motorcycle accident. Just tired of seeing this trend. And then for Josiah, obviously, the little known story is that he really struggled this summer being here. He became, every year I have 1 or 2 kids that I call kind of Locks kids. And he became that because I know that he's from a small little town, really close with his granddad and his dad were here on his official visit, and he was homesick most of the summer, and we did everything we could to keep him. I said we could just get him to training camp where football kicks in, and that's kind of what happened. And then the Saturday before he's supposed to check into his dorm, he gets the call as we walk out to practice that his dad dies in a car accident. And you know, our team is a family, and you know, Robert Smith, who's one of our leaders, you know, he lost his mom to cancer, and so I pulled Robert. I said, hey, take him under your wing. We got this thing this year where every player each week has to get one person in the program that is my guy. Like, I got you this week. So, you know, like this week I got Dylan Wade, and, you know, I've been texting him since Sunday. And so Robert got him, and I knew during the course of the week that he was a guy that could help us. And, you know, we actually put a play in for him, expecting that hopefully it would do what it did for him. And for him to get the touchdown on the play, that's why you saw, you know, all the players on the team were so excited because they all knew what he went through that week. We all kind of rallied around him. He didn't want to go home. He wanted to stay here with us, which meant the world to us because that means that he's adopted us pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Coach, obviously Billy had a great game. Do you fear that the headhunting that went on in that game? Do you fear Billy running when you have such a talented guy, or so far? And also, shouldn't the penalty be more than what it is when somebody attacks on that level? In your opinion?
No, I mean, one, if you look across college football this weekend, there were a ton of quarterbacks that took shots like we took, and that's not saying that I'm okay with it. You know, one of the tough things, and we're talking to one of the officials that works our practices that's an official, is that quarterbacks aren't tackled in practice very often. And so for linebackers and DNs and people that do this for a living, when they finally are able to be tackled and now they have the ability to give themselves up, sliding, the timing of it, a lot of it to me is timing. I don't know if it was if these were intentional, but if you look across the country, there were a ton of these things, and they're hard to police. But as you get guys ejected from the game, which happened in quite a few of them, I think that you'll see them get better at it as we get into the season because of the lack of tackling quarterbacks in practice. And you know, for our guys, you know, I don't want our quarterbacks taking shots like that. I'd prefer them dive. We've worked on diving on the mats, protecting ourselves. Is there a time and place for sliding and giving yourselves up? For sure, but we want to get out of bounds. We teach our guys how to not take those extra shots. And, you know, some of it is just playing football. And you know, I grew up on the defensive side of the ball, and, you know, I don't want to take the teeth away from our defense, and there's some things we can't do that they can do. And, you know, but I don't think they were intentional in terms of how they were, but they were ugly shots. I will say that.
Coach Moore addressed you about that after the game?
No, didn't even. It was not a reason to. I mean, as I said, I didn't feel they were maliciously done. You know, it's kind of that in between, and is he going down low? And so no, it wasn't, and I didn't expect to have to address it.
Mike, sort of a follow-up question to Heather's question. The Josiah situation I know was emotional for the team, but your philosophy in general, running up the score as opposed to scoring a late touchdown. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about running up scores. I've never, ever, I got too much respect for our opponents.
And I'm not saying you.
Oh,
won't.
I know, but
Right.
just in general, to run up a score, no. I will say that when we play a lot of players, we play in a lot of players to get them experience executing our offense. And we you know, we threw the ball on third down because I want to see my young quarterback get experience of playing on third down. I think most coaches understand that early in the year. As I said, I got a lot of respect for the game and our opponents in that. Josiah was going to play regardless. That was a play we knew he could run. Got it executed, and I was glad for the kid, but no second guessing on when it was done or how it was done.
Hey, Coach, you talked about developing MJ kind of to be that second quarterback. Can you talk about the benefits of having a second quarterback that's developed, and also what's kind of like the end goal for MJ and his development and how you kind of hope to utilize him?
So what's your first question?
What's the benefits of developing a second quarterback?
In college football, and unfortunately I've been here and been a part of it for 36 years, that the second quarterback not having game experience, to me, I'm big on anytime you have an opportunity, and the second quarterback sometimes is a weapon, a added weapon, whether it's his ability to run, throw, those things give you an added advantage. And so for us, we're always trying to develop our depth behind our starters because we understand that the game is a physical game, and at some point, injuries become a factor. And when you're able to develop your roster as a whole, when guys are thrown in late in the season, it isn't the first time. And so that's just part of how we develop our team. And the second quarterback's no different than the fourth receiver, the second or third tight end. We've got to find ways and opportunities to bring them along in our program so that when they are needed, they have the experience necessary. Second part.
Just kind of how you hope to utilize them throughout the season.
Yeah. And again, a year ago, we used Billy in a certain way to where, Billy can't throw, and then he throws for, 311 yards. We'll use MJ based on his talent level, and he's a guy that has the ability to win in the pocket as a thrower, and also has the ability athletically to run the system that we like to run. And so we'll continue to do those things with him. As I said, we got a third guy in Cam Edge, and Cam's strength is his ability to win in the pocket, throw the ball. His strength is also being in our system now. This will be year 3 for him, and it's great to have 3 guys that have that ability.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, man?
Preston Howard played the first drive on Saturday. Didn't really see the field after that. He came out a lot earlier than the other starters. Was that injury related, or was that something else?
Yeah, he was nicked up. He's been dealing with being nicked up. He was nicked up most of camp, and we've been trying to get him healthy. We're hoping to have him back this week, but yeah, he got nicked up in the game, hyperextended the lower extremity area, and made the decision to pull him and give him a chance to rest. But I expect him to be back and available and being able to be another cog in our offensive system because he's a good player.
There was so much to talk about. I don't even think we touched on the wide receivers and just how much of a weapon for Billy that can be. I mean, to have
we got some receivers around here?
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
Wow.
I mean, Felton and Prather, and there were just everybody was catching everything. What can you say about the development of those receivers and how much of a benefit for Billy that is to have them in the system?
Yeah, with both Caden and Ty, and then you throw in Octavian, who's in year 3, and Punch Knott's in year 3. So, these guys have played in some roles behind some talented guys, and now it's their opportunity. Ty and Caden are both guys a year ago caught 40 or more balls, and both are very talented with run after catch. And, we just got to continue to find ways to get them their touches. I think when you get those type of players, their touch opportunities in the game, that's how you score points. And Josh understands that and did a really good job of featuring those guys and getting it to them in the right kind of situations. Thank you. Thank you very much.